fine. We'll give it a minute or so. We'll just call in through Discord here because that's probably the best way. But we're gonna get the guest coming on here. Um, but yeah, we're gonna give it a minute or so once we check everything to make sure it's working good. And then we will get the guest in here. Everything looks good on my end, I guess. Down with the EU. My end, I don't know about that, but everything looks good on my end. We're gonna start the debate. Hello, hello, hello. We're gonna be calling our guest here, Billy. Um, hello, Billy. How are you doing, brother? Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, we cannot hear him. We can't hear you, Billy. Yeah, we can't hear Billy at all. Billy, you could try reconnecting your mic. I don't think it's on my end, but you could try turning on your mic on your phone or whatever device you're using. I could try rejoining on my end. There's a small chance it could be me. Let me see. I don't think it's my problem. I think it's the guest, but we'll see. Let's check everything. Let's see where we're at here. Seems like we're good on our end. Hello, Billy. Can you hear me? No, I don't think we can hear him, guys. I could make a call to my friend to see if it's on my side. I don't think it's on my side. Let's make a call to Dustley just to see if it's on our side or not. Nope, not a fan of Nick Fuentes. I'm not a Nick Fuentes guy. Oh, here we go. He's calling us. Let's see. Hello, Billy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Fantastic. Oh,
Does it sound all right? I know that can be a little bit busy with uh, being on a headset, and I could probably just move to my regular phone if it's not really bad.
they said they can hear you. I think we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
How are you doing, man? Do you want to start with an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Billy Stipes on YouTube. Um, I was previously a conservative, previously a Catholic. I deconstructed from both of them. And mostly I wanted to just talk about the history of Israel because it's one of those subjects that I find very interesting. And I feel like you've said some things in the past that made me kind of go, I don't know exactly how much you know about it. So I'd actually like to start off with asking you, how much do you know about the history of the region that is either Israel, Palestine, or Judea?
I know some very, very basic history about it. I do know that Judea was there long before the Arabs came into the West Bank or into Israel.
Correct. It certainly was. So I'll give a little bit of a preface here. Well, actually, before I go into that, do you think that the Arabs conquered Israel from the Jews that were living in the city?
I think when they conquered, it was mostly Christian nation.
Correct. Well, yeah, I would say that's correct. Christian is probably the what would have been the most popular, so to speak, religion at the time. But I guess I'll go back to basically the beginning of this. Um, Judea, the original region, was originally conquered by Pompey Magnus. Um, that's the Roman consul who Julius Caesar basically fought a civil war with, and ultimately ended up defeating at the Battle of Versailles, 46 BC, and kind of started Rome going from a republic to the empire that it would eventually be. But Pompey Magnus was the one who actually conquered that region. I think it was probably around 65 BC. I don't have it off the top of my head, and I'm on the phone, so I think it's around there. And basically, after he conquered it during one of his campaigns, he installed a king, Herod the Great, right, who was the king of the Jews, or the king of Judea during the time when Jesus Christ was born. And the fact Herod the Great actually is cited in the Bible as somebody of importance because he had a bunch of young children killed because there was a prophecy that they would eventually be the new king of the Jews who would overthrow. I don't know how much of that's actually historical accurate, but it is important because it basically established Judea as a Roman finance state. And from that point on, um, they were a client state of Rome. Rome controlled them completely in its entirety, right up until I would say, think the Bar Kokhba revolt was around 132 AD, and that was the final revolt of the Jews against Rome's control of the area. It was under Emperor Hadrian, and at that time, after that, after he crushed that revolt, uh, there was the Jewish dynasty because it basically said it was like the third revolt by that point. He said, you know what, we can't keep these people in their lands, so we're going to kick them all out, and that's exactly what Rome did. Um, so by the time that the Muslim conquest of Levant in that particular area, Syria, and what would eventually become Palestine and the people who are living there today, there was no Jewish people there. There was
There
no
were still Jews people
leader.
living there.
No,
After
that's
that diaspora, there were still Jewish people that were living there. I mean, that's like a historical fact.
but by and
Most of them left, but yeah.
large,
Yeah, they weren't allowed to live there.
it's the whole point of the diaspora. They were forced to move out of their homeland. And they were spread across the Roman Empire, as far as Spain, as far as Egypt, and all the way up to England today. They were basically spread out across the entire thing because the idea was, hey, these people are so fractious, we can't control them. We can no longer have them in a concentrated area because they're just going to continue rebelling and rebelling and rebelling. So we just can't have that. And so that's what the Romans did. So by the time of the Arab conquest of the Levant, which was I want to say probably seven early 7th century AD. So around like 620, 630-ish, during the Rashidun Caliphate. That's when it was actually conquered, and it was not conquered from the Jews. It was conquered from the Romans, who had controlled it at the time, and who had in turn conquered the Jews to begin. So I hear you saying, the people of Israel have the right to their land. I don't necessarily agree with that concept because by the time they actually came back in 1947, after World War II, it had been 1,500 years that it was no longer their land. There were people who were already living there. The countries of Europe just decided, you know what? We think what happened during the Holocaust is really terrible, and we don't want that to happen again to Jewish people. So we're just going to give them this land that we control. The Brits controlled it at the time because it was basically colonization under a different name, more or less. But they controlled them. And said, you know what? We don't want them here, but we also don't want them to continue to get abused the way that they were under the Holocaust and frankly, the Russian pogroms and the other things that the Jewish people went through. So we're just going to say, hey, you can go here and you're going to live here now.
I see what you're saying, but I just looked it up and it said after the transformation of Jews from a majority into a small minority was not a single Roman event, but it was a centuries long process as the Roman Empire transitioned into the Christian Byzantine Empire. I don't think I'm saying that right, but state prosecution and forced conversions caused many Jews to leave Babylon or convert. But records note up to 200,000 Jews remained. And this was right before the Arab conquest. This was literally 30 years before the Arab conquest. They had 250,000.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but they weren't in control of the territory at the time.
No, they weren't. I never claimed they weren't.
Control
But the Crusades is actually what killed most of the Jews in the area.
Absolutely, 100% agree
And
with
that
you.
went down to there was 5,000 left. Yeah, there was 5,000 left after that, but they still repopulated after that, and we know Jews only repopulate with other Jews. This was literally like a couple thousand years ago. So there was 5,000, and they continued most likely to repopulate. And that's something I can tie into Hamas and Palestine. If it's such a genocide or whatever, then why do they have a growing population? There was 2.1 million Arabs in Palestine before the war started. Now there's 2.2 million. Their population grew by 100,000. How are they being genocided? It's the only genocide in history where the population grows.
I'm Yeah, I'm going to make a very gentle correction of what you just said. Not Palestine, specifically Gaza. And the reason why I say that is because they are actively evicting Palestinians from the West Bank to Gaza, and they are forcing them from the West Bank to Gaza. So when they say that the population of Gaza has grown by 100,000, sure, it absolutely has, because they've evicted about 300,000 Palestinians from the West Bank and from their territory, and they have taken control of that, and they have moved those people forcibly into Gaza, which I think you and I can agree probably. Would you want to be in Gaza right now? Is that a place you would like to be forcibly moved to?
No, but two things I want to touch on. You can look this up yourself. Israel paid for 150,000 plane tickets for Palestinians to, escape the West Bank. And also, as far as what was the other thing that you said? You said they're being moved or whatever. No, it's counting the Palestinian population. It's not counting people in the West Bank. It's counting all of, the quote unquote state of Palestine. It's counting the total population of the Palestinians in the state of Palestine. It raised by 100,000. This is not just moving one people from another area. I agree that displacement is happening and there could probably be war crimes happening. Like in most wars, there are war crimes. And I can't agree that displacement is happening, but there are births are definitely outpacing their deaths according to the census of the area.
So You know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, and I don't have the ability to look that up right now. So I'm willing to see that. What I will ask you is, given what we have actively seen, literally the videos that we've actually actively seen, I assume that you've watched them. Do you think that the destruction that's happening in Gaza is even remotely justified based off of October 7th?
I think it is justified, but I think that there's atrocities, but it's justified. There might be some more crimes, but it's still think it's justified.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to push back that sure, because there are atrocities, but they're justified. Is
Yeah.
maybe the most ridiculous statement that I have ever heard in my life. If it is an atrocity, it is automatically not justified. There could be collateral damage, and you could make an argument for collateral damage being something that is justified. Atrocities are never justified. There is nothing that justifies an atrocity by the definition of what an atrocity is.
Okay, then maybe not an atrocity. Maybe that's the wrong word to use. Maybe I wouldn't call it an atrocity.
I actually agree. I think they are atrocities. I think you actually 100% nailed it when you called them atrocities, because that's exactly what they are. They are atrocities. Atrocities are being committed and they are not justified. And that is exactly my problem with what is going on right now in Gaza. And we talked a little bit about this, on Discord, off of this call. But I agree that Israel as a state deserves to exist. I do not agree that Israel, with what it is doing, is appropriate or acceptable. I don't care. You know what? I'll be quite frank with you. I was old enough to remember 9/11 happening. I was in class. I think it was sixth grade. Actually, it was sixth grade. It was Mrs. Carter's science class in sixth grade. They turned the TV on so that we could all watch it happen in real time as it happened. And as terrible as 9/11 was, and it absolutely was, it was a horrible thing. I would not say that what happened on 9/11 justifies us going in and just wholesale slaughtering everybody in Afghanistan or in Pakistan because they happen to be harboring Al Qaeda. It's just not the way that civilized nations operate.
Well, I agree, but that's not the only reason we did it, but that's kind of going back off topic. If we look at the total kills, there's been about 2,000 50 Israelis killed, and there's been 72,000 Palestinians. And the 2,000 Israelis, including civilians or Americans or any of those other people that died that were not even Israelis. That just sounds like they're losing the war.
What do you say when somebody like Ben Gvir says that for every one Israeli is killed, 100 Palestinians will die?
I think
That
I understand his pain because they gave historically speaking they gave Palestine that land, and they turned their back on them like that. The Romans and the Israelis let them live there, and then all that time later they ended up acting like terrorists.
No, I'm sorry, that's just factually inaccurate. The Romans did not give them any land. The Israelis did not give them any land. And I will actually agree with you on this, and I think you'll agree with me on this. The Arabs conquered it through force of arms in 600-ish AD.
And what happened after that?
And that's the way that it worked. Now, that being said, and you pointed it out, after the Crusades, there was basically no Jews left in Judea, or in Israel or Palestine or whatever you want to call it at this point. It was not until 1947 when we decided, and I say we very broadly and nebulously, but in 1947, the Western powers decided, you know what, the Jews need a homeland, and we're just going to plunk them right back down into where they go because we don't want them in our countries anymore. And the only way to do that without doing a Holocaust the way Germany did was to give them land back in a place that they no longer controlled, had not controlled for over 1,500 years. And when they did that, when all of those settlers went to that area, which was now controlled by Britain at the time, they went ahead and they already did what is described historically as an ethnic cleansing of Palestinian Arabs by Israel. In 1948, they did the Nakba. Do you know about the Nakba?
Yeah, but let's go back a little bit real quick. Yeah, I will concede that fact that they were conquered. I do agree on that part, but it still doesn't change the fact that the Ottomans and they lost power. The Ottomans obviously were mostly Turkish, but they lost power in 1920 when the British Mandate was formed. So that's when they lost power. So the Great Britain Great Britain took their power and
Absolutely.
and they allowed the Palestinians to stay there. So what did they decide? What did they ended up doing? They turned their back on the British and they brought the area. They brought conflict in the area.
Part of the whole thing, because they had allied with Germany and they had allied with Italy, they had to cede control of that area over to Britain. I'm not disagreeing with that. That's 100% what happened. That's why Britain had control of that territory.
They didn't move the Muslims out though. They didn't kick the Muslims out. They let them live there alongside of the Jews. They didn't kick the Muslims out. You there?
The
Oh, that's not good. That is not good. Give me a second, guys. Hold on, hold on. Give me a second, boys. Give me a second. Sorry if you're listening to this. Hello? 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 Sorry, I cut out for a second.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying, I agree with you. At the end of 1920, the Ottoman Empire had to surrender as part of the Central Powers that were part of World War One, and they had to cede that territory over to Britain. But that doesn't mean that the people who were living there, that wasn't their property. And I would again ask you, are you a capitalist?
Yes.
So you believe in the concept of private property and ownership and the rights that go along with that. Correct?
Yeah, but I believe in conquest too, that oversees any rights of property. Part of capitalism, part of brutal capitalism is conquest. That means if you take not all capitalists believe in property rights, but that can be a core.
But do you believe in property rights? What, you know what? Actually, let me reframe the question.
Yeah, I believe in property rights, but the only way you can enforce property rights is through violence.
Sure, absolutely. State has the monopoly of power. I don't disagree with that. Do you own your own property? Do you have a house that you own?
No, I rent.
No. Okay, that's fair enough. Imagine that you did own a house. Okay, we'll make it really just baseline. You own a house. One day, the United States government comes along and says, you know what? We want to do right by the Native Americans because we did some really nasty stuff. So, Euro, get out of your house. And we're going to give it to these Native Americans. Is that fair? Is it right?
Yes, it is right if they can take it by force.
So you would be okay with the United States government just taking your thing?
Yes, I believe in
Because
the law of conquest. Yes, if they have bigger guns, they can and use tyranny upon me.
well, then, my friend, you are not a capitalist. You're a communist.
No, I'm not a communist.
Ultimately has ultimate control.
No, that's why I believe the Second Amendment right, because I believe small militias are more powerful. I believe small militias are more powerful than a government. I think,
Well,
100 million citizens are more powerful than the government.
that's completely ridiculous. The government has nuclear arms, and we will.
What are they gonna do? Nuke themselves? They're gonna nuke themselves or something? What are they gonna do?
I mean,
They can't use a nuke on their own citizens.
if there was an actual full,
It's called eminent domain.
yeah, I think it probably would.
Yeah, it's called eminent domain.
Yeah, and do you think eminent domain is correct?
I mean, what does eminent domain really fully say? I would have to take a look at that.
Your property, your personal property.
What you're talking about, that means. Well, do I believe that? Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't own anything already. Because if the government taxes your property and you don't pay it, they're gonna take your house. So did you ever really own it in the first place?
So you're not really a capitalist.
I am a capitalist. No, I am a capitalist. I believe you can build wealth through purchasing properties and stocks and bonds, but I don't think that you do it for the sake of ownership. I don't believe in absolute ownership. Just because I don't believe in absolute ownership of property and stuff like that doesn't mean that I'm not a capitalist.
You know what? I'm sorry, but you're not. If you think the government has a right to seize your private property,
No, I don't think they have a right to. I think whoever has I think historically speaking, whoever has the most gun power can take whatever they want.
I think functionally that's accurate. I don't disagree with you on that. Functionally, that's exactly what happens. It happens all the time. It's happened throughout history. It continues to happen all the time. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm talking at this point about what is morally correct and permissible and what should be, not what was.
Are you asking about other governments taking over governments or go ahead, sorry. I'm interrupting.
No, I'm just saying, do you think that is the way that it should be? Do you think that it
I
should be that the government, your property, whether you want it to have?
what can you hear me now? I heard what you said. I heard what you said. You said you don't want do I want the government to take your do I want the government to take people's property? The answer is no, but I don't want
Or does happen? It very obviously does happen and has happened. I'm asking.
no, I didn't say it doesn't happen. I'm cutting out. Can you hear me now? I heard what you said. I said that I said that I'm not okay with it happening. That's why we had the Second Amendment. But as far as governments taking other governments in other countries, that's fine. If they don't want that to happen, they have to fight against it. Whoever wins, wins. That's why we had the Second Amendment, because if the government decides to steal all of our money or something like that and go to people's houses and start robbing them, that we can stand together and fight against them.
But Yura, that's kind of my point. I'm not complaining that Britain took over the historical region of Palestine. They absolutely did that. I'm saying that once they took over that region, they had a moral responsibility to protect the basic human rights of the people who lived there, because they had then become citizens under the British Empire. And they did not do that.
It's their land. They could have just kicked them right out. That's what they should have done.
Their responsibility to protecting those rights.
But how is it their responsibility? They won. That means they did a violent act to take it. They did a violent act to take that land. So when did Palestine become their own government? They did a violent act to take that land. Why wouldn't you expect them to get kicked out or unalived? Like, why would you expect good treatment when your land got taken by the British? Why would you expect good treatment?
I would not expect good treatment.
You would expect to get kicked out. So then why did they let them live there and expect them to live in harmony? They were wrong, I guess.
be, be, because that's just the way that human rights work.
No, when other countries take over, they don't just let you stay there and give you free housing and give you all that stuff. That's not how it works.
But Euro, that's my point. They did not kick out the Palestinians. They took over the country and then they ruled over Palestine from 1920 until 1947. And then they very arbitrarily said, you know what? We're just going to ship all of the Jews that are still in Europe over to this place.
But you're saying something out of context. But the Palestinians never had their own government. When did the Palestinians have their own government, though? So they've always been under someone else's rule. They've always been under someone else's rule. Israel's the only one that gave them their own local government. They've always been under before when Ottoman Empire owned them. I don't think they had their own local government. Pretty sure they didn't.
They absolutely had a local government, but it was so this is the way that client states work, right? They're not independent, they're client states. They still operate underneath the crown, in this case under England, the same way that India had a local government that they operated under. Okay, so it's not to say that they did not have that. It's just that it was beholden to another government. They absolutely had that, and then they again Britain, without any discussion with the local government or the people or consideration for it, just again began to ship Jewish people over there because they did not want them anymore in Europe. But they also did not want to do a Holocaust the way that Germany had.
They said I looked it up. It said there is no independent or political entity called Palestine that was unified. There was a local Palestinian population, elite families, clan leaders, religious figures. They had like elite families and clan leaders and religious figures, but they didn't have an actual government.
That's the way an empire works. That's the way an empire works. You're like I specifically draw this back to when Rome initially conquered Judea when the Jews still lived there. I told you they made King Herod the Great the king of Judea. That didn't mean that he wasn't responsible to doing what Rome's wishes were. He was still the king. And they still, in Palestine at the time, they still had their own local governments that were responsible for reporting to the British government. It doesn't mean that it didn't exist. It doesn't mean that a culture didn't exist. It doesn't mean that the people didn't exist.
They had Sharia law.
What happened back then, and you're thinking back then in terms of how states exist now. That is just not how it worked back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. Especially in the Middle East, where things are very much more tribalistic and more based on cultural differences and various groups and things like that. And yeah, they had Sharia law. There's Sharia law today. We are allied with countries that have Sharia law. So I don't care about Sharia law as an argument for why Palestine shouldn't exist, or the people of Palestine shouldn't be able to be self-governing. We make deals all of the time with countries that have Sharia law. Saudi Arabia, while they do not have Sharia law enshrined in their specific laws, absolutely follows Sharia law 100%. Even more and worse than Palestine does because there's people getting their hands chopped off for stealing.
Oh, they did that all the time in Palestine, but you just don't hear about it.
Buried up to their neck in the sand and being stoned to death.
I'm sure this happened in Palestine. I'm sure this happened in Palestine. But someone dropped an interesting super chat.
Okay, go ahead.
They said no Palestinians did not have their own independent sovereign state or government before Israel, and international agreements established the current framework.
I didn't say they did. I
So,
said they had local governments that were responsible to the Crown of England. I did not say that they had a sovereign state. And before that, they were responsible to the Ottoman Empire. And before that, they were responsible to the Russian Caliphate. And before that, they had to do whatever the Byzantines said. I'm not saying that this territory is something that has always been a sovereign nation. It certainly hasn't. I am not making that claim. What I am saying is that the people who are living in Palestine lived in Palestine for a lot longer than any of the Israelis who currently live in Israel even were a conception, even a twinkle in their father's eye, not even a sperm in their father's ball sack. That's how long that they've been living there. And even their grandfather and their great grandfather and their great great grandfather. We, as a Western civilization, arbitrarily decided the Jewish people get this place back. It's for them. And then after we dropped them all there, the Jewish people in 1948 during the Nakba turned around and committed what is essentially an ethnic cleansing, where about 750,000 or so Palestinians were just driven from their homes that their families had owned for generations.
well, there
They were
is.
taken out, they were either killed or they were forcibly removed from the area so that uh, Jewish settlers could take over. And then we, specifically the USA, went ahead and started funding the Israeli government and giving them all of the weapons that we had produced throughout World War II to defeat the Nazis so that they could defend themselves, which they did. There was plenty of wars, and I'm not saying that the countries around them were right for what they did. I'm certainly not saying that, but I am saying that the Israelis were also not right in what they did, and they're also not right in what they're doing now.
An Israeli guy dropped two super chats, and he has something to ask you. He says, "Ask the caller what he suggests to do now." Then he dropped another super chat. He said, "Caller, what do you want me to do now? Leave my house? Talk, action, solutions, no crying stories." And this is the reason I know he's Israeli is because he has told me before, and also the super chat is in shekels. So obviously he lives in Israel now. But what do you want him to do? He says, "What do you want him to do? Leave his house now?" But all the stuff you said, we've already been over this. There was 5,000 Israelis left in Israel even after the Crusades. So to say that the Palestinians were there first is crazy when the Israelis never left. But what do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? What do you want the Israelis to do about it?
I will answer that, but first of all, I never said that the Palestinians were there first. I want to make that very clear. I went
You
over
called
the
the
entire
Israelis
history.
settlers and you said the Palestinians have a right to defend their
I
land.
made it very clear that the Palestinians were not there first. But that being said, the overwhelming majority of Palestinians, at least up until about 1948, had been there for about 1,500 years. I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying that that means that they're right. I didn't say that they were there first, but I am saying that that is 1,500 years, which is about what? Uh, at least 10 generations of people there, you know, uh, that gives them some level of, hey, this is our land. But to the call or to the super chatter, no, I don't want you to leave your house. I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want you to be injured. The thing is violence only begets more violence. When you oppress people, when you strip them of their rights, when you take from them basic human dignity, they will not be peaceful and they shouldn't be expected to be peaceful. If somebody took away and stripped my basic human dignity from me, I would not be a peaceful person. And I don't think anybody who's listening to this, Euro, you included, would accept having their basic human dignity stripped away from them and find that acceptable. I just don't think it would. Obviously, you're going to fight back. You're going to do something. So, what I would say, and I'm afraid that this is going to be something that sounds painful and difficult because most meaningful changes in our world are painful and difficult, is stop oppressing them and actually go ahead and make meaningful steps towards trying to help them integrate into your society. Instead of bombing the shit out of them, instead of keeping them locked up and creating border checkpoints that are impossible to get through, bring them into the fold, invite them to vote, have that conversation. If you have a problem with Sharia law, and I certainly do because I'm agnostic and I don't believe that established religion is good for anybody, regardless of what that established religion is, you have to talk. You have to have those conversations because what's going to happen when a bomb blows up a little kid's house and that kid lives? You know what's going to happen after that? That little kid is going to grow up to hate the person who blew up their house and killed their family members. All violence does is create additional generational trauma. It will never stop being that.
Did you know did you know that 25% of Israel's population is Palestinians? And did you know that they do have voting rights and that Palestinians and Arabs in Israel get free education and Israelis don't get free education and Arabs don't have to join the IDF and Israeli Jews, they have to join the IDF? So they're getting all kinds of special privileges that Jews do not get. No, in Israel.
And
The West Bank is up to the Muslims to debate. No, it's in Israel. That's in Israel. Yeah.
actually not true in
Gaza
Gaza.
is Palestine, so that's up to them. That's a Muslim ruled area. You're talking about the Muslim ruled area. I'm talking about the Jewish ruled area. And also, he says you have no idea about Israel. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You were cutting it out a little bit.
I said caller has no idea. Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that your super chatter has some comments and some opinions because he lives there. And I get that. You know what? I've also been there. I've also talked to a lot of people who live there. I've talked to a lot of people who are anti Netanyahu's government, Likud, who don't agree with the policies and the strategies that Netanyahu has followed. So I appreciate that he has that opinion. I don't agree with it. The fact is, the only Arabs who are allowed to vote in Israel are the people in the West Bank who are actively being pushed out of their homes and places and being moved over to Gaza. And the people of Gaza do not have the right to vote. And Israel controls Gaza.
No,
There's this weird sort of belief that Gaza has some kind of sovereign government that is not controlled by Israel. De facto, that's not the case. So when I hear something like that kind of argument, that's just a big pile of bullshit.
the West Bank and Gaza don't.
Look it up.
The people, you didn't even let me speak. If you're a Palestinian in Israel, you can vote. But if you live in the West Bank and Gaza, you've never been able to vote because you're not even in the same country. This is just a state. So no, you can't vote in the Israeli election when you're mostly Islamic.
So the West Bank and Gaza are two completely different territories. First off, Gaza is treated much more poorly than the people in the West Bank. The West Bank is still controlled by
It's
Israel.
all Palestine. It's all controlled. It's all under Palestine.
Palestinians in the West Bank have the ability to vote for the most part, people in Gaza don't. And again, government of Israel still controls both of those territories. It essentially Gaza is to Israel what Puerto Rico is to America. Is a controlled territory of our government without the rights and statehood.
No, Palestine, nobody in the West Bank can vote. They've never been able to vote. But our friend from Israel has another super chat. He says caller thinks we're all idiots and don't understand his logic. He has no effing idea what is going on here. I would not talk if I were you, dude. That's what he said.
Well, that's fine. I'm not, completely I'm not unfamiliar with Zionists saying, "Hey, you
Oh,
refrain from those folks," and that's perfectly
what's wrong with
fine.
being a Zionist, believing that your country?
Palestinians in the West Bank can vote. That's just a fact. People can look it up. They can go ahead and they can look it up.
They can't vote. I did look it up. I mean, I didn't know myself. That's why I looked it up.
There have been the Palestinian Authority is not allowed to be voted for in the West Bank.
Everyone that's in the West Bank and in Gaza, none of them can vote.
The Palestinian Authority is basically controlled by
Terrorists.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I couldn't hear you because I was talking.
It's controlled by terrorists. But yeah, all of that part of Gaza, Palestine, all of that is under the Palestinian state, and none of them have ever been able to vote in Israel.
There is no Palestinian state. There is no Palestinian state.
Well, not anymore. They lost the right to it.
There has not. Okay.
If Israel was in control of them, they would be.
State founded. When was the Palestinian state?
It's not a Palestinian country. It's been there since Israel's been there. It's called a state, Palestine state. You want to tell you when it was founded?
No, it was founded in 1988.
Okay, so there you go. You know when it was founded.
And it was not recognized by the United Nations until 2012. And even then, a state that has no effective actual control over its territory, where another state
They were gifted that territory and they have their own government and
Puerto Rico is still a territory of the United States.
yeah, and they don't and
Sovereign nation.
yeah, I know.
It has not been
I agree. I never said it has.
really ever, to be quite honest with
I
you.
agree
Even
with you.
when it was founded in 1980, it still wasn't a sovereign nation.
Nope, that's because the Israelis let the Muslims live there.
So, I appreciate your super chatters, comments, and opinions and stuff like that. You know what? That's perfectly fine. But at the same time, I'm sorry. There is a difference between what is essentially a political black cloud of nonsense and bullshit and what is actually happening on the ground.
They're losing the war. That's what's happening on the ground.
They're still losing the war. Well, how are they not?
Shouldn't they leave the area and go back where they came from? Why doesn't Egypt take their people in? Why doesn't Egypt?
Two people or even one army that is powerful over the other one attacking them. It is literally they completely destroyed the Hamas. They completely destroyed any kind of realistic military capability they had, and now they are just slaughtering them for the sake of slaughtering
If
them.
these are innocent people, why isn't Egypt taking them in?
A genocide.
It can't be a genocide when the population is growing. I said, if they're such innocent people, why didn't the neighboring nation offer to take them in?
No,
Why didn't the neighboring nations offer to take them in? Why didn't Egypt offer to take them in? Why didn't Jordan? Why didn't Syria?
Completely inaccurate.
It is accurate. You can Google it yourself. I looked at the numbers. Their population, their total Palestinian population in Palestine raised.
It's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about, buddy. I said that it is not accurate to say that because the population grew, it's not a genocide.
Okay, if they're innocent people though, why isn't other countries offering to take them in?
Is based off of what the stated goals,
The stated goals are to take out Hamas, not Palestinian.
in charge of the government perpetrating it are.
The goals are to
Nope.
take out Hamas, not Palestinians.
Who is one of the most important people in Israel's government. One of the most important people in Israel's government, Ben Gvir, has very specifically said that he wants all Palestinians out of Gaza, out of West Bank.
Yeah, they should be gone.
He wants a great Israel, which
That's never been said by any military official.
Actually include Jordan.
I've looked into this before. They've never made any. I've looked into this before. They've never made any military plans public to make a greater Israel. And also, he dropped another super chat. He said, "I don't appreciate the caller." He said, "You're an idiot. Imagine me talking about the relationship of your parents. Why I'm not a part of your family." That's what he said.
Hey, you know what? That's perfectly.
And he also said Ben Gvir is an
I
idiot.
don't really care.
He said Ben Gvir is an idiot. Who cares?
Because his opinions are stupid.
Well, he lives in Israel, so he actually gets to vote in the election and decide if Benjamin Netanyahu gets to come in the office or not. So I don't know if I was you, if I hated Benjamin Netanyahu so much.
It's not. It's perfectly fine. If he wants to do that, that's fine for him.
Well, the election's right now. I don't know. He doesn't like Benjamin.
Of Asma Yehudit, he's the leader of that party, is a prominent advocate and has spoken multiple times about greater Israel.
I'm sure he has spoken about it. It's a biblical. I'm sure he has, but he never. Yeah, I'm sure he has. It's a very Jewish topic, but they don't it today with military conquest. That part's untrue.
Yes, he absolutely does. Yes, he absolutely does. So that's 100% inaccurate.
Okay, here, I'll Google it. I'll Google it.
100% have said that.
I'll Google it. Give me a second. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. But he seems to say this guy's an idiot anyway.
I mean, I agree. Ben Gvir is a racist piece of shit.
How's he racist?
Like Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's definitely a terrible. Like Ben Gvir is probably 10 times worse than Bibi.
It says, based on reports up to May 2026, Israel's National Security Minister Ben Gvir has not explicitly used the exact phrase "Greater Israel" while calling for military action, but he has advocated for policies that align up with expansionists' aims, including the reestablishment of Jewish settlements and military control over Gaza.
So let me ask you something. Does he need to say greater Israel for him to be a proponent?
Yeah, because Gaza belongs to Israel.
Policies that would be greater Israel?
No, it does not say that. It says he supports some of them. Yes, he needs to say all the qualifications. Yes.
If he supports all the policies that would lead to what is a greater
He doesn't talk about taking Syria or Lebanon. I don't see anything in those policies of him mentioning it. But he dropped another super chat. He says, using what Ben Gvir says is like attributing traits to your whole family because you have an idiot cousin that ruins it all for everyone. That's what he's saying. He's saying you're using the most idiotic.
You know what? That's perfectly fine to your super chatter. The moment that Ben Gvir is no longer the national security advisor for your government, the moment that he's no longer the most important person and second most important party in the coalition that makes up your government, I will care about that. It is not just an idiot cousin. It's actually something more like, the second most important person in your family saying that kind of shit. So, no, it's not like that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But I haven't seen anything bad that he's really said. If he wants to take Gaza over for Israel, I agree with him 100%. If you call that Greater Israel, then I guess I'm Greater Israel. But I don't think Palestinians.
He is the main proponent behind invading Lebanon right now.
I don't think so. I don't think he wants. Are you talking about Ben?
No,
Talking about Ben?
Netanyahu does not even want to actually go into Lebanon, but he needs Ben Gvir to continue supporting the coalition government so that his government does not collapse. So he's giving Ben Gvir the wherewithal essentially to push for this strategy to invade Lebanon. And that's what has been going on. And that is what has led to most of the Israeli casualties to date.
So how is Israel? How is 9 million people going to take over Syria, Lebanon, Turkey? If he takes over Lebanon, how is 9 million people going to take over Turkey, Lebanon, Gaza, and Syria? And Egypt. In Egypt. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
How can 9 million people take over Lebanon, Gaza, Syria, Turkey, and Egypt? How is that gonna how are 9 million people gonna take over thousands of miles of landmass? How do you expect the Jewish people to do that? You really think that's a serious thing?
Well, for one, they're the only country that probably has nuclear weapons. And for two, we give them something like $200 billion a year in military aid.
We do
So,
not give them $200 billion a year.
okay.
Nowhere close to 200 billion. It's around 8 billion, I think. I think it's 36 billion. It's around 36 billion ever since this Gaza war started. And they still buy weapons from us. They purchased 200 billion actually from us in 2 years.
You're right. You know what? I will retract that and I'll say you're right. We give them only 3.8 billion.
That is
They
a
also
discount on weapons. Yeah,
they also have an
they
economy
gave us
to
200
build
billion. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu recently came out and said, "Hey, we don't want to take any more money from the USA because it's a one-sided deal. It's only benefiting them. It's not benefiting us that much. We want to build our own weapons." So they're building their own weapons facilities. But we have another message someone says. They said, "Why does everyone forget they share a border with Egypt? Why doesn't Egypt help Gaza?" I don't know. No one will tell me that. Egypt has literally said they're shutting their borders down. They don't want Palestinians in them. I'm pretty sure they refer to them as like terrorist filth.
I'm sorry, I gotta make this point because that might be the most stupid fucking thing I've ever heard. Why don't we just accept every single person who crosses the southern border?
Palestinians are genetically Egyptian. A lot of them, the majority of them are genetically Egyptian because Palestinian is not a race.
Genetically Egyptian.
Yes, there is.
No, hold on. There's no such thing as genetically Egyptian anymore. That's not a thing.
Let's see.
Both groups are Arabic. However, in the same way that Mexicans are Christians who just happen to live a little bit southern of Texas, they're still culturally different in a lot of ways, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying there's a problem with that. But there's a reason why we don't just let every single person who crosses the southern border into our country. There's a reason for that.
Yes, but we let refugees in, people that we believe that are real refugees, we let them in.
Sure.
We let real refugees in, just like we let Cubans in. All they have to do is sign one piece of paper and they can get into Florida because they had the whole Cuba communism crisis, and we let in a fuck ton of them. They didn't have to do any kind of paperwork, just sign one thing. pay a little bit of money, or the government will pay it for them if they don't have it, and they can get citizenship. So why didn't Egypt do the same thing for people being genocided? Why didn't Egypt do the same thing for people being genocided?
You are literally talking about a policy that is 40 years out of date now, my friend.
I don't care. It's still relevant.
They
They still do it. They have to go through the process. It's not automatic. Let's see. Cuban arriving USA citizenship. They never automatically gave it to you. You had to go through the process, but it's very easy. They make it very easy for you. All you do is have to fill out one piece of paper. Yeah, it says they're still using humanitarian. Hold on. Yeah, I looked it up. Can you hear me? I looked it up. Oh. Fellas, we'll try to join back in a second. Be patient with me. Hello?
Hey, there we go.
So I looked it up and it said that they still do it. That it's a humanitarian aid program.
You know what? That's perfectly fine.
So why doesn't Egypt open up a humanitarian or refugee program for them to come in? Why do all the neighboring countries hate them?
Register for asylum. But listen, listen to me real quick. What do you think Egypt's gross domestic product is? Its GDP.
It's super low. I don't know what it is. It's way lower than Israel's.
It's about 400 to 430 billion dollars a year. And you're right. It is lower than Israel. So why does a country that has I think Israel's GDP is around 720 billion.
We give $1 billion a year to Egypt.
Why do we expect this country? Why do we expect any country around them who, by the way, again, not flourishing, healthy economies? Why is it on them to be responsible to take in people who have been displaced by Israel's aggressive nature?
Because these people are from their countries.
No, they're from Palestine.
No, they're not. No, they're originally not from Palestine. No.
Okay, you know what? Go ahead. Go ask. I would love to have this as a you know.
But he dropped 2 more super chats.
I have a friend who lives in Egypt, and I've talked with him a lot about the difference culturally between Palestinians and Egyptians. There is a difference.
Oh, they have a different culture for sure, but they're genetically Egyptian.
There is much.
There is Egyptian DNA. There is Lebanese DNA.
There is, as there is between Mexicans and Americans. So for the same reason that we don't let just any Mexican come into the countries around Palestine are not just going to welcome any Palestinian in for the exact same reason. And you don't have a problem with us closing down the border and not just random willy-nilly letting any Mexican person come into the country, despite the fact that Mexico is being blown up constantly by friggin' drug cartels.
That's their government. Fix their own government.
Do you want? But okay, but why is it okay for us to say no? You can't come in.
We still let refugees in here. Don't sit here and play that victim game. We let refugees in our country. You know we do.
That has nothing to do with what I just said.
You're saying why don't we let them in here? The answer is we do let them in here. We just don't let Palestinians in our country, just like they don't let Palestinians in their country.
You know what? I'll tell you what, I won't give specifics, but I work in a particular industry that a large part of my job is working on people who are coming into the country to have and need work visas. They have now made it so difficult to get a visa to work in this country, even if you are a refugee
Well, there's only 47,000 a year.
from somewhere. They have made it so difficult. So the government that you support,
It's actually one of the easiest countries to immigrate to, by the way. This is a fact. I have immigration attorneys you can speak to. I have a immigration attorneys you can. It is. I've lived in 3 other countries. It would have been easier to immigrate to the USA coming from somewhere else, especially under Biden's administration. But even now, no, it's still easy. No, Trump's doing a great job. We don't need mass immigration. But now we're going on to other topics. If you want to talk about that, we can. I have some super chats I want to read from our Jewish friend over here in Israel. He said,
that's what I'm talking about is what you're saying.
I didn't hear the last part. What'd you say? He's not doing a bad job. I heard something about a bad job. But anyway, look, I don't believe in any good guys slash bad guys. It's too complicated. Can you just accept we Israelis are not all evil? That's what he dropped in his super chat. Can you accept that? No?
Israelis are not all evil. Their government is evil, but Israelis are not all evil. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I heard you. Another guy said there. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Sorry, there's a bad storm. Someone says there has been 6 major attempts to have a two-state solution. Palestine declined all 6.
Yeah, because those well, first of all, you know what? I'm not even going to go into that. I could go through all 6 of them. One of the problems is actually Bibi Netanyahu, who is on record as having funneled money to Hamas to create a basically an opponent that he can use as a threat to keep himself and his party Likud in power. So that is a way broader topic, and I don't think that we have the time for it. Otherwise, we'd be here all night talking about it.
Okay, the Surfol Noel guy, the guy from Israel, says, "Have you ever got into a fight before?" He said, "You sound like you live in a fantasy world," and I'm just letting you this know because I feel like if you want to address it, you can address it.
Brother, I grew up in Syracuse, New York. I don't know how much you know about Syracuse, New York, but it's a fucking shithole. I've been mugged probably 6 or 7 times in my life. I've gotten into plenty of bar fights in my youth. I don't do that anymore, but I certainly did. So, yeah, I've been in a fight. I don't live in a fantasy world. I just have an idea of how to make things better. And what Israel's doing right now is just making things worse.
So, what would you do to make it better? I think that's going to be his next question. So, we might as well just ask you. What do you?
Sure. I mean, the obvious thing first and foremost is stop blowing shit up. Stop bombing people. Stop blowing up families and their homes, and stop removing people forcibly from their homes to allow settlers to take those homes and to take those properties. Something that we know actually happens because there are literal videos of it that you can go and look at on YouTube of it happening. And the settlers are completely blatant and upfront about the fact that they are literally just stealing Palestinian property in the West Bank. So don't do that fucking shit, first and foremost. Second, start actually caring about the people that you are supposed to have a moral uh, responsibility to take care of because you control them. Give them food, give them water, give them electricity. Give them the funds that they need to be able to build a functioning civilization that will move them away from this ridiculous, nonsensical 1500-year-old idea of Islam, and that's how civilization should be, and give them the opportunity to be educated and to develop themselves. Because all you do when you blow the shit out of them is knock all of that potential growth and opportunity right back down to the Stone Age, which is exactly what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing.
Well, well, we also what if we just stop all that and Hamas, continues to hide under hospitals and behind women and behind children? What are we gonna do then?
The women and the children in the hospitals and the other people who are innocent people who are now getting support from the government instead of being blown up will no longer shelter Hamas. They'll no longer consider Hamas to be the only reasonable option for them to continue to have any chance to
So
succeed
how are
and
those
live.
so how are those women gonna go from Hamas's hand when they're Muslim and they're married and they have 10 wives to Israel's hand? How is that gonna happen?
A long time and a lot of effort, and exactly what I've already said.
Well,
You've got
see,
to build the infrastructure to educate people, to move them beyond the thought process that they're in. And when you destroy that infrastructure, when you take that infrastructure away consistently over generations, again and again and again, you are not ever going to see any progress. The situation with Hamas is a situation of Israel's own doing. They have created this situation by consistently oppressing Hamas. Not Hamas, well, yeah, Hamas too, but Palestine in general. But that is what's created Hamas. And the only way to stop that from happening is to stop doing it. Every time somebody is killed in Gaza, I guarantee you are signing up 10 people for Hamas because they have family members. And the only way that you break out of that cycle of violence and bloodshed is to actually do something on a human level to help support these people get away from it. And I know that it's a difficult thing, but it's literally, and again, I know Israelis are not Christians necessarily, but it's the whole concept of Christ. When struck, turn the other cheek. Jesus did not say, when you're hit, fucking nail the shit out of the person who hit you.
well,
This
the
is turn
Bible is also about self-defense. But there's a couple more chats I want to get to. The Jewish man says this. He says, I invite you to my house, caller. No hate. He has an extra room, so he's inviting you to Israel." Whiskey Fiend dropped a super chat. He said Netanyahu was elected December 2022. All the peace agreements were 2020 or prior. How is that his fault?
Benjamin Netanyahu has been in government for well before 2022. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
He got elected as prime minister in 2022.
And he was prime minister before that. Israel's not like America, where you just have a prime minister for 8 years and then he can't fucking run again anymore. He's been in office various times from 1996 until now.
Yeah, but he's
And
been out.
even when he wasn't prime minister, he was still in government as an elected official during that entire time. He's literally the longest serving prime minister of Israel. You can look that up on Wikipedia. You can look it up anywhere. Just look up the longest serving prime minister of Israel. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. So don't fucking say, oh, well, it just has only happened since 2022. No, that's bullshit. That is a ridiculous argument for somebody to make.
Well, you were saying all those peace agreements that were signed when he wasn't as prime minister. I mean, I don't know how he has participation in it, but he also says that the Israeli guy says, "I'm going to go now, but I welcome you all to Israel. I'll host you nicely. Visit my page. Peace out, man."
Oh, yeah, you know what? Good. You know what? I would actually love to talk to him in person. I think that would be a really interesting conversation to have. And like I said, I've been to Israel before. I'd love to go back. It's a beautiful country. I don't have anything against Israeli people. I very much have a problem with what their government is doing. And I do absolutely see it as a genocide. Whether or not the population has gone up or not, that's not the point. The stated goal by multiple important people in Netanyahu's government is the removal of Palestinians from Gaza. That is a genocide. That is by definition a genocide.
Well, they removed 150,000 using airplanes. They just got them on a plane and flew them wherever they wanted to go, out of the war
Yeah,
zone.
that's still a genocide. Hey, Euro, if I picked you up tomorrow and I paid a plane ticket for you and I flew you down to Guatemala, what are you going to do? You know anything going on in
I'd
Guatemala?
probably
You know the
rent a.
culture. You have the money to buy property.
I'll
Because
probably start renting a place and I'll live down there just for a couple months. I'll say, hey, thanks for the free plane ticket. I'll rent a place and live down here.
No. I'm sorry. You don't have access to your accounts because they froze Palestinian citizens' accounts.
Okay, then I'll
So you don't
say,
have, you don't have money. I'm just sending you to
I'll say,
Guatemala.
hey,
No
can a
money.
couple of my friends send me $1,000? Can a couple of my friends send me $1,000 in Bitcoin to my crypto wallet so I can get the fuck out of here?
Hopefully they'll do it.
Hopefully I can get the fuck out of here.
No.
Uh,
Also, by the way, you're lucky you have friends who have that amount of money because I could guarantee you the fucking people in Palestine don't.
no, they don't, but they can still walk across the border. It's only about a 10-mile walk.
To do what, man?
To get the fuck out of there?
It's a fucking desert, dude. What are they gonna walk across the border and just suddenly they're free and good and taken care of and they have shelter and they have
pretty much.
food?
Egypt has it done it. They've done it a couple times.
Listen, I know you're not a stupid person. You know as well as I do that that is not a fucking realistic solution in any shape, way, or form. And I appreciate you doing the bit and everything. I get it. You're a content creator. You got some of your personality and whatnot. You want to keep on going on that track, but I've listened to you talk. I genuinely don't think you're a stupid person, but what you just said might be one of the stupidest things I've heard out of your mouth yet.
Well, Egyptians have taken them in. No, Egyptians have taken them in before. When it initially started, they took in quite a few Palestinians into Egypt, and then they closed it off. And all they did,
all 9 million of them.
There's not 9 million. There's 9 million Jews. I think there's about 3 million.
Multi-million people are in Israel.
They could.
They
Most of them have
when
Egyptians' last names.
When their GDP is less than half of Israel, they're going to take in all of those Palestinians and they're just going to be able to absorb that cost into their economy. You live in a world of
So are you open
privilege
borders? Are you pro deportation?
What's that?
Are you pro deportation?
In terms of what?
Of deporting the illegal alien immigrants. You just said illegal alien immigrants are going to be a deficit for the nation of Egypt.
For Egypt, yes. I'm not really pro deportation in America because, unlike Egypt, which has an economy of roughly what was it, $240 billion, we have one that's 18 trillion.
So because we have the money, we should pay for it.
Absorb the cost.
Oh, so because we can't afford to, we should do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes no sense. Even when it's going to hurt other Americans.
Can afford to help people, we should do it. That is the most humanist, basic idea there has ever been. Instead of spending money on blowing up Iranians and destroying
we should give it to drug addicts.
And just
we should give it to drug addicts and stuff. People that don't
doing all of that. How about we actually help our fellow people? How about that?
Do you think everyone deserves help? Even the PDF files, even the crackheads, even the people that hurt their wives? Do you think everyone deserves help? Because most of the people that need help are fitting in one of these categories.
I think that monsters are not born. I think monsters are made. I
So
don't know that everybody is capable of being helped, but I think as a human being, it's incumbent upon us to try to help them where and when we can. That does not mean that we just give free pass to do whatever and to run crazy in society. I'm certainly not saying that. But what I am saying is that from a humanist perspective, and while I am no longer Christian, I was raised Christian and I believe in Christian ideals. It is incumbent upon us as human beings to help people where we can, when we can, how we can, regardless of what their sins or their crimes are. That doesn't mean, again, that we just let, uh, PDF files go and do stuff like that. They should be locked up, but they also should be treated. There is some level of ability to be able to give them help rather than just punishing crimes. And that's what we should be doing.
well, to go back to your other comment before, the same guy dropped a super chat when he was talking about how Benjamin Netanyahu just got in 2022. He says, "My point is, how is a guy who's been in charge for 18 years responsible for 75 years of conflict?"
Well, first of all, I didn't say he was responsible for all 75 years of conflict. Benjamin Netanyahu, to my knowledge, is only 76 years old. So it would be pretty crazy for me to claim that a baby at the ripe old age of 1 was responsible for all of this conflict. What I can say is that the conflicts have become worse, they've become more bloodier, they've become more violent under Benjamin Netanyahu's term in office. And
He
that's fact. You can look it up.
I'm not even gonna say I disagree with that, but I'm not gonna say I blame it on Benjamin Netanyahu. But he dropped another super chat. He says, "Everyone brings up Palestine. At least they have a country. Where is his outrage for the stateless Kurdish?" Well, Palestine isn't a country; it's a state. But that is a good question. No one really talks about the stateless.
You want me to get into the Kurds? I will absolutely get into the Kurds. I feel that it is disgusting that Turkey has treated the Kurdish people the way that they have in their own country. I feel it's disgusting that Iraq treated Kurds the way that they did under Saddam Hussein and then under the current government after ISIS was finally defeated. A big portion of which was done by the Kurdish military. I feel bad for the Syrians as well. I believe in Kurdistan. I believe Kurdistan should exist. There's my outrage. We're not talking about it because that's not the conversation right now. But to say that I don't care about that, I'm sorry, your chatter's talking out of his ass. He doesn't know what I think.
I can agree there. Let's see what else they're saying. I guess that's it at the moment. But where were we? So you don't see any beneficial things that Israel does for America, like giving us a lot of our military technology and our vest plates for our bulletproof vests and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I don't agree with America's military industrial complex or the way that we project force across the world. So, no, I don't really think that that's beneficial.
Wait, are you a communist?
I'm still very much on the fence about that. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I go back and forth, and I've had this conversation actually with Javon Bradley. That's how I found you, by the way, because I know that Javon's an anarcho communist, and I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that there is something on a biological level that makes people too selfish for an anarcho communist state to exist. I would say probably, ideally, I would be a socialist democrat to an extent. I believe in the concept of owning personal property, and I believe the state has or should have the responsibility to protect that right. At the same time, I also feel that the state has a responsibility to ensure that others do not amass so much wealth that they can essentially do what they have done and buy our government wholesale so that it just works and operates for the most powerful, richest people while the rest of us basically toil and suffer.
So do you like the Norwegian model?
To an extent, I've looked into it a bit, and I think that it's probably the closest way to get to a proper social democrat state that still respects the rights of individuals and provides a base minimum of support for its citizens. I think that there's probably still opportunities to fine tune that and to make it better. But that's the human experience, man. We're not going to get it right on the first time every time, really any time. We gotta develop it. We gotta try things out. We gotta see what works. I think that one is working probably better than most, and I would love to uh, try that kind of experiment right here at home.
Well, I don't think the wealthy are a problem or bad mistakes are, but from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like you're a socialist Democrat. If you believe in private ownership and private rights, it sounds like you're more like the Norwegian model. Maybe not. Maybe you have some differences, but you believe in a social democracy type system. But maybe socialist isn't really the word. Like a social democracy, I guess that's what they call the Nordic.
Socialism, like anything, has a scale. Capitalism has a scale. Completely unfettered, regulated capitalism is all the way at one end, and then a highly regulated capitalist system is at the other end. All the way. Same thing with socialism. I don't want so much social control that, like, literally nobody has any property, nobody has any personal rights. But that's also not socialism at the very base of it. There are definitely a varying differences and arrays of places you can go on that scale of socialism. And for me, what I would ideally like to see is something that weds capitalism together in the form of free enterprise, private property that is highly regulated by the government and ensures that a significant amount of the wealth and resources that are created are distributed amongst the entire population, because it is truly the entire population that makes any of these companies able to exist in the first place. Amazon could not exist if we as a people did not build the roads, have the planes, build the airports, have the cargo ships. It just wouldn't exist.
And you guys couldn't eat or survive.
What's that?
And I said, and the workers would feed their family and survive if it wasn't for.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. But what
It's an
I'm
even
saying is, I don't
exchange.
think it's fair that Jeff Bezos is able to accumulate an ungodly amount of money that he will never, ever, ever be able to completely spend in his lifetime and does not need, while his workers are pissing in bottles in their warehouses to meet the production demands, or not able to take a
That's
break
not happen.
while they're driving on the
That's
roads to deliver packages.
that doesn't happen either. And also,
Yeah,
is
one
someone
hundred percent
if
does. I got a friend who works in an Amazon warehouse. Don't you
well,
tell
he's
me it
doing that
doesn't
by
happen.
choice. Then he's doing that by choice.
Yeah, because he's a prick.
But
And my idea,
Amazon doesn't have to.
what
But why do you want the government to take away someone's freedom to innovate?
I don't want them to take away somebody's freedom to innovate.
Then you
I
want
didn't say
the,
that.
then you want them to innovate for free.
No, I didn't say that either. You could innovate without accumulating $78 billion of personal.
What if he wants to? What if he wants to? Why should you be able to stop him? How does that harm
Because
you? It's not
because
like
the
you're.
infrastructure that he is using has been created by this country, and he is utilizing it more that you or I are on an individual basis.
That's because he chose to.
More than you and I do.
He does pay more than me. I didn't pay $2.4 billion in tax in 2024. Did you?
Let's be so for.
I didn't pay two point.
Okay.
I didn't pay as much percentage even as him in taxes. So
I don't care.
So he's paying more in
If
taxes.
If you make $5 billion in a year and you have to pay $4 billion in taxes, you're still eating fucking
So
steak.
you think you should be able to steal their money? So you think you should be able to steal their money and take 90% of it and give them 10%? You run away with the 90. You think that's fair?
Me personally, no. Our government, yes, because
Do you think the government? But the government mismanages. No, the government's horrible at stewardship. Look what they do with.
I agree. And you know why they're horrible at it? Because we let people amass a magnificent amount of wealth who then went on to buy our politicians.
No, they're horrible in socialist countries.
Don't give a shit.
All the government programs in socialist and communist countries are all horrible. None of them were good. Even today, Russia has free healthcare today. Russia still has free healthcare today, and guess what? Their private healthcare is better. So
I hope they have free healthcare, considering how many people are getting mangled in Ukraine because their president's a fucking lunatic.
But they have private healthcare too.
Good for fucking them.
You would say Putin is a lunatic, but you wouldn't say Stalin is a lunatic. You wouldn't say Stalin is a lunatic.
No, Stalin was absolutely a lunatic. What kind of non sequitur is that?
I'm asking you, do you believe in the communist ideology? Do you believe about these other dictators that were crazy? All of them that followed socialism and communists were crazy. Are we agree?
No. I literally just explained this to you.
Who is not crazy?
When that socialism has a sliding scale.
Okay, well, when was it not crazy?
At the extreme end of that scale, and I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, which one is not an extreme scale?
What I already outlined, man.
So there's no socialist or communist countries.
I'm not saying that we've had it. I don't think that we have had it, but that doesn't mean we can't have it.
Well, it shouldn't be for America.
Done something doesn't mean we can't do something.
Well, yeah, we can do it, but I don't think we should do it in America. I'm fine with doing it. You can experiment with some third world country. I don't want to do it in the greatest nation in the world.
Well, we're not great.
Why are we not great? This is the easiest nation in the world to create wealth.
I'm sorry. Don't you support the president who said "Make America Great Again"?
Yeah, we're becoming greater every day.
Okay, what's great?
What's great? I just told you we live in the country where it's easiest to create, more easy to create wealth than any country in the world. It's easier to get credit and build business and pull equity and finance cars and buy a house. And even though we have high,
buy a house.
Yeah.
It's easier to buy a house.
Did you know?
Rent. You're telling
Did you know?
Easier to buy a house here.
Yeah, I could buy a house if I wanted to.
Are you telling me that?
Yeah, it is. I could buy a house if I want to. I save my money.
By paying rent and not creating equity.
I create equity in the stock market. I buy corporations and companies that you're complaining and bitching about.
Intangible. The stock market is not tangible.
Real estate isn't tangible either. If the government can come take away your house from you for any little reason, for eminent domain, for taxes, for any little reason, the government can come take your house. What do you have?
And I already said I don't agree with that.
Okay, so why are you trying to push up on me? Why are you trying to push up on me? Okay, so then what's the problem? America is great. It's the greatest country in the world to build wealth. What do you disagree with? Even though we have expensive houses and expensive apartments, I will concede to that. Did you know, based on the average income, we rank in the top 5 lowest cost per living for like a house for shelter in the world? I'll pull it up.
That we rank 40. Do you know we rank 46 mortality?
For what?
Infant mortality, and that is not abortion. 46 in infant mortality. That is infants born who either die during birth or die immediately after birth.
I don't know what that is. I'm not a
And
doctor.
you know why that is?
Why?
Do you know why that is?
Hello?
Because our capitalist private insurance system is not adequate to provide enough resources to make sure that babies are not dying after birth.
What's the specific issue?
Frankly, Republican position.
The average baby doesn't die after birth. So what are you talking about? Babies don't just die after birth. Plenty of people have natural births all the time. What are you talking about specifically? Is there a specific scientific condition that you're trying to point out, or what are we talking about here?
Babies don't die after birth. Did you really
Not
just
not
say
not normally. Sometimes, obviously, there's an exception.
you know what it is?
Yeah, it's like 1 in a million chances of that happening. That's what I'm telling you. That's not normal.
I'm sorry, that's not true. 5.4 out of every 1,000 children born end in death before they reach toddlership.
So that is not even 5.
Babies out of 1,000 die.
So that's 0.05%.
Unbelievable. You know what?
This is because of birth defects. This is because of birth defects. You know why this is? Because this is all the chemicals and all the bullshit. Huh?
I'm going to admit I was wrong. We are not 46 in the infant mortality rate. We are 54th.
Okay, out of 200 countries. Okay, out of 200 almost 200 countries.
54th. We're the richest fucking country in the world.
We're not the richest country in the world. We're not. Okay, we don't rank number 1 in every metric. What's your point? I never said we ranked number 1 in every metric. If you want to build wealth, you're living in the best country in the world to do so.
If you're born into the right family.
No, most millionaires are self-made. You don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Yes, 86% of millionaires are self-made.
Not true.
Yes, it is. 86% of millionaires. I'll tell you what accounts for self-made. Self-made is anyone that has ever. I'll tell you what it is. Anyone that's received less than $10,000 in inheritance. That's self-made.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. That's what requirements for. That's what we're talking about.
Nope. I don't agree with that assessment.
What do you not disagree with?
For me, if I have a family,
most of these people have $0.
If I have a family to fall back on, it is a lot easier for me to go ahead and take money and invest it in a risky opportunity to build up a company that will build up my wealth, because I know that if that company fails, I can fall back on my family and my support network to take care of me, that I will not be out on the street. So when you say they're self made, no, they're not. They don't need to get 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, $1 million to not be self made. The fact that they have that stability and that security to know that if they fail, they'll still be taken care of is enough for them to take that chance. So, yes, it very much is dependent on what family you live in, because it's a lot easier for me to take a chance if my parents are making, say, $100,000 a year between the two of them. That's not a lot of money, but you know what? I know that, hey, if I fuck up and I lose my business, I'll be able to go crash on their couch until I am able to pick myself up again. You know what you can't do that with? If your parents are making $20,000 a year.
Okay, if you have charisma, you have personality, if you don't have a support network, didn't you just prove my point? If you don't have a support network, that's your fault. That means you don't have any friends, you don't have any charisma to build any connections for anyone to let you sleep on their couch. So isn't that still your fault at the end of the day? If you were a charismatic guy and you had a lot of personality and you had a lot of value to offer as a friend and as a person and as a communicator and as an entertainer or whatever you do, then people would be offering you to sleep on their couch if you were out there building these relationships early on in your life and doing all this stuff, then it all goes back to you. So at the end of the day, unless your parents are millionaires, you don't have anything more than the next man because if you talking, I can't hear you.
No, I'm not.
Okay, sorry. I thought I heard something in the background. So at the end of the day, if you at the end of the day, you're just like everyone else. You could say about that, you could say the same thing about the guy that's like broke and has like a negative $5,000 in debt, nothing in his bank account, and the dude is living in a mansion because he has the charismatic personality to have a best friend that has a Lamborghini and a mansion. But he's broke, but he has that charismatic personality to go out there and meet people that are different and have different things than everyone else, or can let them crash on their couch. I mean, so you can say that about
Your
anybody.
your philosophy is you better be likable enough
To
to
win.
be able to be successful. Otherwise, fuck you.
Yeah, you don't have to be likable, actually. There's plenty of
Humane
you
take
don't have
on
to be
existence.
likable, actually. You don't have to be likable. You can be a programmer.
Yeah,
You can be a programmer. You can
real quick.
what is
You
it?
don't have to share it if you don't.
I'm probably not gonna share it.
No, I was just going to ask, how old are you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Um, I'll tell you what. I thought pretty darn similar to you when I was 25. And this is not me being that old guy of, oh, you're going to change as you get older. What I will tell you is that things will happen in your life and you'll have experiences and you'll have opportunity to grow as a person. And I would highly recommend that you take the opportunity to do that. I would highly recommend that you take the opportunity to embrace people, to love people, to know people, because I spent way too long not doing that. And I now no longer have the time to do that. I wish I'd done it more. Highly recommend, just as a piece of personal advice, that you do so. But we've been talking way over the time that we said that we were going to talk. So, I'm just going to leave you with that. And if you want to give me any feedback or advice in return, I'll be happy to listen to it.
My feedback and my advice, I'm always open to changing my mind. I would suggest the same for you, I guess. I mean, I just hear more people out and keep going on on YouTube and whatnot because I have been seeing you on there on the comment sections and whatnot and on the stream. So I've been wondering about you a little bit and just keep going out there and talking with people and researching and debating and sharing different ideas. I think that's good. And thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And it was a pleasure. And have a good evening.
It was a good time. You too. You take care, friend.
Take care. Have a good one. Thank you. Peace out. But double tap that like button. Let's get to 100 likes, guys. Let's get to 100 likes. I'm just not that kind of guy to go around and blame any little thing. Oh, the next person had this or that, or the next person had this or that. The way I look at it, it's your fault no matter what. If it rains today and you didn't want it to rain and you're complaining about it, that's your fault because you could have got in your car and you could have drove across state or across country and been somewhere else where it wasn't raining, or you could have gone on a plane and flew somewhere else when it wasn't raining. Me, everything is just your fault. If you want to say, oh, this person's ahead of me because their dad is Bill Gates or whatever, okay, well, I'm just saying, why don't you go out there and have the charisma to go meet someone that is the next Bill Gates or that is the Bill Gates? Anything that you want is fully on you. How the fuck is this a Hamas shirt? Don't disrespect me like that. It ain't no Hamas shirt. This is not a thing. This is not a transgender YouTube page. We have been debating a lot of people of the LGBTQ community. We do want to debate some more people, so if you guys want to debate, if you think you're a little bit different, or if you think you're part of the LGBT community, please, if you think that, if you're disgusted enough to think that you can go into a woman's bathroom and you're a man, please join that Discord because I have a real beef with you. And I saw your comments, Times. I appreciate that. You're a real one. You're a real one, Time. But let's go ahead and pin that. I saw all your comments, so I'll just keep it at that. I don't hate anybody based on their race, religion, or ethnicity. Do I think some people shouldn't be allowed into the country? Absolutely. Israel does not control us, brother. Look, am I controlling you with my special tiny hat powers? No, I'm not controlling you with my special tiny hat powers. Oh, you're saying Trump likes dressing rooms. Well, a lot of the Democrat men out there like to go into women's dressing rooms as well. So maybe y'all can feel the pain a little bit. I don't know. Double tap that like button. Let's get to 100 likes. 100 likes. If y'all got any questions, comments, anything you guys want to talk about before I hop out of here. Hello, Israel. Love y'all. Much love. Must follow Israel. Must follow Tiny Hat Man. You have to. Nope, I don't get paid by Israel to defend them at all. I just say my honest opinions and it doesn't even piss them off. There is a lot of Israelis out there and Jewish people out there that do watch me. So I do appreciate it. Even though I know I'm 100% sometimes not always agreeing with you guys on everything. Because I know some of the Jews out there say, oh, you say stuff that's really controversial, or you say stuff that's racially baiting. They don't call me a racist ever, but that's pretty much that. Honest question, what happens to MAGA after Trump? Well, Make America Great Again was here before Trump, and it's going to be here after Trump as well. It was here before Trump, and it's going to be after Trump as well, so that's pretty good. I mean, that's what I can say there. But double tap that like button, guys. Subscribe. Double tap that like button. Get those likes up. We're almost to 100 likes. Trump doesn't hate Somalis either. He doesn't hate Somalis either. He just believes some of them shouldn't be coming in. They shouldn't be allowed to come in anymore. We have enough of them. To be quite honest with you, we have enough of them. Because on average, their IQs are 68. So why would we let someone into our country with an average IQ of 68? What sense does that make? If they have an average IQ of 68, why would we let them in? I mean, we have enough Somalis, y'all committed billions of dollars in fraud. What do you want us to say? Trump doesn't hate Canadians. He hates Canada because their country is, demonic. Demonic. They let you unalive yourself and they keep the body. It's demon stuff. It's demon rat activity. But can you guys get us to 100 likes? We're almost there, boys. We're almost there. And Michigan? No, Minnesota. The Somalis been committing fraud in Minnesota, and it has been proven. There has been a lot of arrests. There's been 25 arrests. So I don't know what you're talking about. But join that Discord down below if you guys want to debate. We do not support any of that LGBTQ stuff on children. We do have more millionaires now ever than in history, and we still got people complaining full of jealousy and hate because they ain't millionaires. So they gotta hate on them. I would never hate on the next man like that. That's bullshit. But we're almost to 100 likes, boys. Level up those likes. Level up those likes. Keep that shit in the zoo. Keep that shit in the zoo. Immigrants can be helpful, but we gotta stop all immigration for a couple years. We gotta stop all immigration for a couple years. Oh, y'all like the flag, huh? Trumpstein? You mean Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. No illegal alien immigrants. Deport them all out of our country. Deport them all out of our country. Come on, guys. We just need one more like. Who's going to be our 100th like? 100th like. Anybody? Deport them all. I'm not Jewish, man. I'm not Jewish. We just need one more like. It says 99 for me. Oh, y'all are really loving, aren't you? You are 99? Trump is not married to an illegal alien immigrant. What the hell are you talking about? You got no effing clue what you're talking about. You got no clue. I was 100. Thank you for the 100th like, man. Thank you for the 100th like. The loony left. Y'all are crazy. I'm just talking to you guys at the moment, so I guess I am talking to myself. Why? Why does that matter? I think we just need a couple more subscribers to reach the next level. The next level, guys. We just need a couple more of y'all to subscribe. Anchor babies, yeah. Yeah, there is a rainstorm out there. Imma hop out of here, honestly, guys. Imma hop out of here. That was almost a debate for 2 hours. Hey, thanks, brother. Thanks. I'm out of here. Peace.